All right, and the last game we're going to discuss here, big picture, or at least in terms of a larger scale breakdown. Number 3, Texas, 9-1, 5.5-point road favorites in College Station, taking on number 20, Texas A&M, 8-2 are the Aggies. Total of 49 at Bet365 Sportsbook. A&M not necessarily laying a dud. Hell of a game at Auburn for overtime, losing 43-41, but defense has been a bit of an issue in terms of explosive plays allowed for the Aggies this season, but a ton on the line here, just on the surface. The winner clinches a spot in the SEC championship game, and that means that A&M does have an outside shot looking in at getting into the college football playoff because they could knock off Georgia. And with that in mind, I do want to ask you the odds here a bit for A&M to get into the college football playoff. But like I mentioned from the get-go, definitely makes an intriguing matchup, not just with the point spread and between these two teams statistically, but what's on the line for potentially A&M to have an outside shot looking at it getting into the CFP. But like I hit on from the top, the Aggies defense, despite ranking 13th in SP Plus rating, they have allowed a lot of explosive plays, 121st in marginal explosiveness allowed and 124th in yards per successful play allowed. A flat 14 yards per successful play allowed overall this season. And Quinn Ewers and Texas's passing offense, 9th most explosive passing plays in college football. I know I mentioned on last week's Beat the Closing Number that I'm not super high on Quinn Ewers, but those two stats don't really line up well for A&M's defense. What say you, Brett, with the spread being a 5.5, total of 49?
Yeah, is this what people meant by don't be surprised if a 3-loss SEC team gets in the championship, in that their conference champion is a 3-loss Texas A&M Aggies? Because it could be. On top of this just being a win in a de facto SEC semifinal, this is the first meeting of this rivalry since 2011, one of the best rivalries in all of college football. I don't say that lightly. And also, I think something that's really going to fuel Texas, it's very narrative driven, so if you want to throw this out, that's fine, but there's a lot of rumors about A&M being the one to not want to play Texas after departing the Big 12. That does not sit well with the Longhorns. But of course, this game is played in one of the most daunting environments of college football, one that I've been to a few times. It is absolutely incredible. And I didn't go to games against number 3 Texas for the first time in 13 years. So it's probably going to be a supercharged environment as well. Like you said, Quinn Ewers, you're not super high on him. He's had mixed results on the road. Last year's game at Alabama, absolutely incredible. This year's game against Arkansas and Vanderbilt, less incredible. I would almost go to say mediocre or worse. He's prone to make early mistakes, and if he's going to make those early mistakes in College Station, Texas has a problem on their hands, because you don't want that crowd to get any more in it than it already is going to be. I'm actually really excited to watch this one. A&M's defense. I've heard a lot about when people have been dissecting this game. 2 great defenses. Do we have 2 great defenses? Are we sure about that? I don't think we do, because Texas A&M's defense has been putrid, not even bad, putrid. They allowed 31 to Auburn in regulation last week. That's a season high against Power 4 opponents, and 44 to South Carolina the week before, which is also a season high against Power 4 opponents. So you can move the ball and score on this Texas A&M defense. The quarterbacks, the good quarterbacks, I should say, can also move the ball in Texas. If you look at it, Diego Pavia did a nice job doing it. DJ Lagway, incredible player, that he was doing it well before their injury. But the cast of opposing quarterbacks that Texas had played this year has been so bad that is Marcel Reed like the second best? Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, and that's not really saying a whole lot. And no offense to Marcel Reed, he's been great for the Aggies this year, but he's not contention for the Heisman Trophy, right? Like, he's not Jalen Milroe or players like that. So I think they're going to be playing a step up in class in quarterback here. And the whole reason I bring both of this up, Texas defense is vulnerable. A&M's defense, I think, has been playing poorly. I like over 49. This is priced like a game between 2 stout defenses. I don't know that we have 2 stout defenses ahead of us here, because A&M's defenses have been falling apart against the SEC foes, and I don't really think Texas' defense has been tested that often this year.
All right, I'm probably going to be taking the points here with A&M, and you brought up some good points for Texas A&M offensively and defensively too. I brought it up how many explosive plays they've allowed, but I don't really trust Ewers here on the road in a tough road environment. The market that I brought up though leading into this, or near the beginning of the handicap, A&M 7-1 to make the college football playoff at Bet365. So win the next 2 games against Texas and Georgia, you'd have to think they're in, right?
Yeah. They automatically would be in,
right?
Because you beat Georgia, you're the automatic qualifier from the SEC. They probably aren't just in, but there's a lot of pressure to give them a first round bye, I would imagine. Even if they're the 3-loss over a 2-loss Big 12, I could see it happening.
So would you think that number is a little valuable?
I'm doing a quick what if here. I maybe should have had this one ready earlier, but I'm just going to do a quick what if on a money line with Georgia. They'd be 12.5 point dogs at Georgia. I'd probably just roll the money line back to back. I would take money line here against Texas, roll that into a money line against Georgia instead of taking you said 7-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get better odds if you do a rolling money line parlay here.
No, that's very smart. I look into money line rollover parlays a lot with the NCAA tournament compared to the odds entering it. So
and they're not going to let's be clear, they're not going to get in if they don't win the SEC. If they make the SEC championship because they beat Texas and they lose, they're not going to get in. You cannot put a 4-loss team in the college football playoff, especially the inaugural one. That sets a dangerous precedent. So I would just take the rolling money line parlay because that's the only way that they will make the playoff at this point.